be cool. Okay, so let's see. Are we live on Facebook? I just found out that we were not live on Facebook. So all that talking, we were not live on Facebook. We should be live on Facebook at this moment. Tell me, Hotep, if we are not. Thank you so much for sending me the message. You and I don't know what I would do without you and Ezekiel keeping me on point. So we should have you live on Facebook right now. So again, the EJI tidbit today that in 1956 on July 17th, city officials in Tallahassee, Florida ordered police to arrest the black carpool drivers in an effort to undermine the black community's boycott of racially segregated city buses. So the black community realizes that we are not able to all be seen as human. We are not cool in this moment. What's happening to us with these buses, it is not a situation that any of us should have to endure. And if there's one person in our community who is suffering from injustice, then all of us are suffering from that injustice. So how do we come together as a unit to figure this out? That means we need people to volunteer to be members of the struggle, to participate in the struggle, regardless of what it costs you. So we got to have some carpool drivers, and the carpool drivers say, yes, I will participate, even if it means I'm going to get arrested, even if it means that I'm going to have to face some kind of consequence. I'm on board, because if you're not cool, I'm not cool. And if we're not cool, then we got to figure out something to do. So I want to continue this conversation, but let me just pause for a moment to see if Toney has a comment.
Yeah, and you know, I love Anthony Hamilton as an artist, and I remember the first time I heard this song on the radio. I had to pull it up on YouTube Music to play it again, and what I like about the song was that if I'm cool, if you're cool, we're cool. And it reminded me, going back to something you said, Denise, about the Black community coming together and being united. And it made me think about some partners I had growing up. And that's how we looked at it. We said, we're going to conquer the world. We're going to conquer the world. And we knew we had each other's back. We knew whatever I had, they had. Whatever they had, I had. It was never, this is mine, this is yours. Whatever we did, even if we did some illegal stuff, you know, it was always ours. And you know, and for those who people who really know me on an intimate level, and when I'm just talking about our closeness, know that I'm very sensitive. I'm a very sensitive person, and when I heard this song, it brought tears to my eyes, because I'm thinking about how me and my partners hung together, how we had each other's back. But now I'm looking out into this world, and especially into the Black community, and see how fractured it is, to see how so disenfranchised, that where it used to, you know, where it was that we had each other's back, going back to what happened in Tallahassee, where we had each other's back. Now it's like, you know, it's everybody for themselves, because we're worried about all this other stuff. We're worried about what we don't have. We're worried about how what people won't give us, instead of saying, you know what, we cool, because we can do this. We cool. We can conquer whatever's going on. We don't need police to police our own neighborhoods. We can do that. We don't need people to, you know, when it comes to people worried about SNAP benefits, we can grow our own food and take care of our own selves. We don't have to worry about educating our children, because we can create our own schools and educate our children. So we have to get back to that point to where, you know what, I'm cool, you're cool, we're cool. So now the neighborhood and the community is cool, because we are cool.
So we've got Hotep on the line. Hotep, I'm not going to be able to say these words. Looks like it says Ankh Wedja Seneb. That's what it looks like to me. The phrase translates to life, prosperity, and health. Ankh Wedge Sanel. If I'm not saying that right, call in at 501-433-0088. Let us hear your voice. Tell me how to pronounce these words if I'm pronouncing them incorrectly, meaning that there is, this is life, prosperity, and health. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF 88.3. Thanks for calling. Caller, yes.
Yes, I was looking for the health. You have a health station there. I mean,
that'll be the health corner.
It's like a holistic health hour. I don't know exactly which day is on.
It'll be this Thursday from 9 to 10. It'll be this coming Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
From 9 to 10?
Yes. Are you talking about the health corner?
That's the name of it?
Yes.
Health corner.
Health corner.
Health corner.
Yes.
Okay. Who is it? The one that's spokesman there.
Well, it's actually 3 women.
I really think that, let me give you a number to call because you need more information than we have time for right now. So let me give you a number to call. Do you have a pen with you handy?
Yes.
Okay, 501. Press that red button. Do you have 501?
Yes.
372 6119. 501 372 6119. Okay, call that number. They'll give you all the information that you need. Okay? You can see, okay. All right. So we're talking about, we're having this conversation because Jeff called me. I'm calling his name. I'm calling him Jeff because I did not ask permission to use his real name on the air, and I want to be careful about people and their privacy and what they want to be shared on the air. So I'm going to call him Jeff because when I first got the message, they told me his name was Jeff, but it turns out that's not his name. But Jeff called me and he wanted me to do some homework around this issue of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court having the right to declare a congressional act that was passed. The Supreme Court actually has the power to declare that what Congress has done is unconstitutional. And so he was talking about and worried about and concerned about the fact that we are living in a day and time, a political day and time, where our rights are being violated left and right, and nothing seems to be happening about it. And so he asked me to look up this particular law. And it's Madison versus Marbury. That's the case law, Madison versus Marbury. And I started looking into it, and then I realized, what I feel like we are doing in this world is we are continuing to like we're not pivoting with what has actually happened. So what has actually happened to us with the election of this Trump administration, with this new administration, what has happened to us is that we're no longer living in what is normal. We're no longer living in what is constitutional. We're no longer living in what is supposed to be expected from our president. We're no longer living in those times. And yet many of us are still wondering why we're not functioning the way we're supposed to function. That's because we've turned the tide. The train has left the station. And so for us to continue to depend on a system that was set in place to work for us, that system has been violated. So there's no need for us to keep waiting on especially when we're talking about the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is now complicit with this presidential administration. So I didn't spend as much time as I thought I was going to spend because that changed my mind about the conversation, and that's what I want to talk more about. So here is Mayor Lisa Hicks Gilbert on the line. Good morning, good people. She says, good morning, good people. You talking about somebody with the boots on the ground. If you all are not following Mayor Lisa Hicks Gilbert, please, please, please go on Facebook and click follow, click friend, whatever you have to do, because she is doing the doggone thing in Elaine, Arkansas. And we are so glad that we are in partnership with you. Whatever you need from us, just let us know. And sometimes even when you don't need it, we don't show up anyway. Hotep says, there's nothing new under the sun. History repeats itself. There's nothing new under the sun. History repeats itself. And so what I was thinking when I was thinking about this issue of, and Miss Garner, please, if you want to say something, anytime you feel like saying something, you just start talking, right? Okay, you just start talking because you got the mic right in front of you. Just start talking. And so I was thinking about this in terms of Blackness, because we talk about our complicity. And sometimes I feel like we talk about it through one lens only, and people might decide that that's not them. Oh, you're not talking about me, so I can just dismiss this conversation, not realizing that there are so many ways that we can begin to interrogate ourselves to find our complicity, because it's only when we can see ourselves, it's only when we can name what is happening in our lives that we have the power to change it. And you have the power to not change it either. I mean, you have the power to make a decision about it. Let me say that. That's what you have. You have power to make a choice. And so lately I've been watching these scandals about these white mega churches, the Hillsong Church, the Arise Church, Daystar Network with Joni and Marcus Lamb. I'm watching these scandals about these big, huge entities that are considered churches, and how they are defrauding the people. First of all, the church is a tax exempt organization, so all of the money that it raises, they don't have to pay any taxes on it. Then the people end up using the money for their lifestyles and all of this. But the fact that it is that you don't have to pay taxes means that the community that the churches exist in, or that these organizations exist in, they're not benefiting from the tax dollars. They're not benefiting from the services that could be created and supported by the tax dollars. They're letting the church say, oh, well, I guess the church says, well, it's our responsibility to make sure that our community is taken care of. But we know that's not the case. But as I was looking at this, and I'm going through this and I'm reading this, I thought about, I watched the one about Jerry Falwell. And Jerry Falwell started Liberty University. And for whatever reason, in my mind, I wanted to know if there were any Black people who we know, Black people that we may know, or Black people we may not know, or somebody knows, celebrities to somebody, who graduated from this college. I really wanted to know, because Liberty University was founded on racism. It was founded on sexism. It was founded on homophobia. It was founded on all of this injustice, and it was blatant. And I mean, like that, it was not a secret about how Jerry Falwell felt in starting this university. And so when I went and looked, I just went and looked on this one particular link, is the one that was most attractive to me, where it talked about there were 70 notable people who had graduated from Liberty University. And of those 70 people, 16 of them were Black. Of those 16 people, 14 of them are either in the NFL or the NBA. And then 2 of them were politicians, and 1 of them was a Christian music artist. And I said, isn't this interesting that these Black people will go to this university that has already said to them that they are not at all interested in honoring their humanity as it relates to their constructed race. They're not interested in honoring their humanity as it relates to their constructed sex. They're not interested in honoring you at all, and yet you attend this school. But when I noticed that these players were all in the NBA, I said, well, it must have been some connection. It must have been something that made them feel like this was the right school. It must have been something that gave them the idea that this would be the best place for me to go to get to where I'm going. And so that thing, that goal, that aim that they had in mind became more important than the Blackness, became more important than whether or not I'm a woman, because I'm trying to get somewhere and I'm willing to sacrifice my identity. I'm willing to sacrifice my essence to get there, because that's what's most important to me. And if that's the way we're going to think, then we're not going to be able to live into what Anthony Hamilton is saying when he says all us got to be cool. You can't be so worried about what you're going to get out of this situation that you forget about the rest of us who are not getting that same amount of money or whatever, because we refuse to be complicit. Toney raised up like he was about to say something, so I feel like he getting ready to say something, y'all.
Well, I can understand your point, but if you look at on the athletic side, you look at some of these athletes who went to Liberty, that they were getting paid. you know, and so, uh, and most of them, a lot of them, once they reach that place of the NFL, once they reach that place of the NBA, they turned around and started pumping money back into the community. They started foundations. They started educational things. They started doing things for the community, you know, and I think that's where it becomes. I don't want to say controversial. I think it becomes this thing of, you know, here's an opportunity for me to get somewhere so I can come back and help somebody else get there. For those who know me, I believe in the human existence, you know, and if we're all going to live as humans, if we all going to walk into the human existence, then we have to look at each other as human. I know that's difficult. I know that's very difficult because sometimes we have that label in the front, and that label or that construct or however you want to put it, that black, that white, that Asian, that Latin, that will guide us. That will determine us. That will be that focal point, and you can't get past that sometimes. You know, and that's why I say
You can't get past. I can't get past the fact that you Latin to see that you're human.
no, what I'm saying is that becomes the focal point in some of our lives. Just like, you know, you look at white people, they will say, yes, you know, I'm human, but I'm white human. And because I'm white human, that whiteness will always trump my humanity. That whiteness will make me act a certain way, and it will always trump my humanity. Going back to, and we saw that play out in the 60s, where, you know, I'm a white man, you know, but I believe in humanity, I believe in God, I believe in religion, all this, but I cannot put my humanity second because I'm looking at this black person who I feel is inhuman. So if you would take away that, then you can live into a place where we all can be cool. We all can be, you know, I'm cool, you cool, we all cool, and now society is cool. And so I think sometimes it becomes so difficult for people to rationalize that or to deal with that.
I'm not sure what you mean by put your humanity second, but let me get these comments in from Lowe. So Lowe says, because those Negroes, we're talking about the ones I mentioned from Liberty University who are alumni, because they were only focused in making it to the next level, to the NFL and NBA. One of them was in the WNBA, Avery was her name. And then he also says, come back. Those Negroes have totally ignored where they came from, because you said they go and get what they want and they come back. But I'm glad you said that, though, that we have this idea that people get to a place where they say, well, I'm going to work within the system in order to get what I need so that I can come back and spread it and distribute and be my brother's keeper kind of thing. That's what we want to believe, and that's what people say that they do. But as I continue to research this, when I was thinking about Trinity Broadcast Network, when I was thinking about Daystar, and I was thinking about the Black preachers who are on these networks. So you've got T.D. Jakes, you've got Creflo Dollar, you've got Tony Evans, you've got Sarah Jakes Roberts, you've got them who now can say that these are Black churches, these are Black spaces that have been created using this system. And now look, they are catering to, they are preaching to, they are serving the Black community. However, if you are serving under the model of the company that made you, if you said Daystar was important enough for you, or our Trinity Broadcast System is who gave you your start, that means that you learned the system from them. So what you have done now is simply recreated that same system just in blackface. And that becomes the problem. So we're like, oh, now because it's a Black person, we think that this is going to be a just system, but the system was designed by white folks. All you did was co-opt adopted, and now you are leading it in this space. So what have you done that's different from what the white person is doing? So your system still works in the same way. It is still homophobic, it is still sexist, and it still capitalizes off of the poverty of the people in your space. Because so many of these churches, it's the poorest of the poor in those churches who believe this message that you're sending them, that if I just give more, if I just believe more, if I'm just more faithful, then I'm going to be prosperous too. And that is not what happens. That's a system that we just decided to, well, sometimes I don't even know if we decide, we don't even realize that we're creating the same thing, because we are just as implicit in it, because it's like we were drinking the Kool-Aid the whole time. So what good is it for you to start an organization? What good is it for you to start a foundation if it's going to work the same way that the system of white inhumanities foundations work? If you're using the same model, what difference does it make, the fact that you are Black? And that's why we say things like skin don't mean kin. And that's why we see things like what happens with Clarence Thomas and Ben Carson and Candace Owens. Just because you are in this system, you now become complicit, because all you do is duplicate the same thing. And so what Anthony Hamilton is asking us to do is say, listen, we don't need all of these things that the world is telling us. We don't have to have all of the money. We don't have to have the biggest house. We don't have to live in the most in the community that has the most iron gates. We don't have to have all of these things. We do have to have our needs satisfied. Absolutely, our basic needs. Nobody's arguing that. But we don't have to have it to the extent where we can say, look how wealthy I am. Especially when you walk out your door and you see somebody who looks just like you on the corner because they're unsheltered. What good does it do for you? Oh, how does the Bible say? What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose your soul? Because if you cannot see the humanity in the person that's right outside your door, then you've lost your soul. And so I want us to think about that. Like, think about the fact that here we are saying that, oh no, my system is different. How is your system different if it's created in the same mindset as the system that you started with? We have to get to the point that we say, I'm going to create something that's new, something that's different. Audre Lorde says all the time, you cannot dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. So when Jeff is asking me to look at this case and talk about how the Supreme Court is not doing its job because it's not declaring what Congress is doing unconstitutional, it's because the Supreme Court is now complicit with the same system that the president is using. And so we need different tools. We have different tools in our hands. We just don't trust them. We just don't believe them. Or we don't want them. Some of us don't want to. Some of us like it just like it is. And we have to be honest about that too.
Yeah, your last statement is, I can agree with that. And I think when you completely honest about what's going on, there are so many people who will admit, they would have to admit that, yeah, I like the way what's going on. I may not like the person, or I may not like this or that, but I like how it benefits me. Going back to what I said in the beginning, talk about me and my partners. We understood the parameters of where we lived at in the projects of Chicago. We understood there was, we would go out to the suburbs and visit relatives, and we knew that was different. But in the projects, the one thing we knew was, it was a community that had each other's back. Yes, there were some things going on, but everybody, and it was crazy because if you lived in one building, everybody in that building looked out for people, the majority of the time. And in another building, that's what they did. And when we talked about we could conquer the world, we talked about we were all cool. We didn't have to worry. When we stepped out, we didn't have to worry about anything because we were all cool. We knew we had each other's back. That's one of the problems that we face now. If I got your back, it's going to cost you. Or, I have to, if I got your back, that means that I everything I think and everything I believe, you have to believe the same thing. And the one thing about me and my partners, we did not agree on everything. We were not aligned on everything. But the one thing we were aligned with and agreed with is that I got your back. It does not matter. And I think that's the thing that is tearing the community apart. We don't have to have all this stuff. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of resources, but to us, we had each other. And as long as we got each other, we cool. And I think that's the thing that the Black community has to come back to. As long as we got each other, we cool. We can create. We can make, we can do this. As long as we got each other's back. But that's so difficult now because going back to religion, going back to capitalism, going back to all these different things, Supreme Court laws, all telling people, you can't have this person's back because of this. You can't be connected with this person because of this. That means that nobody has each other's back. I got my back. I don't care about your back.
Well, what I think about all the time, and I'm sure that Ms. Garner if she wanted to, could speak to this better than I can. It seems like when I think about the EJI tidbit in 1956, when they came together in Florida for the carpool, everybody that was Black in that space, Black in the most expansive definition of the word, members of the diaspora, everybody that was Black understood that we are all suffering the same injustice. Because of our Blackness, we are being treated this way, and none of us should have to stand for it. And what is happening right now that I feel like in the Black community in particular is that we don't see ourselves as being all in the same boat. Those of us who feel like we are more educated, we feel like we are in a different boat. Those of us who feel like we're making more money, we feel like we are in a different boat. Those of us who have our own transportation, we feel like we're in a different boat. Those of us who are homeowners, we feel like we're in a different boat. And we look through the window of those boats and we see, and we don't see the other person as, oh, you're just like me. Sometimes we look down on the person if they have their pants hanging, their pants sagging. We look down on them because their pants sagging. If it's a woman walking down the street and she has on a tight skirt, we have our nose turned up. We got all of these external factors that mean absolutely nothing, that are pushing us to see ourselves as less than the humans that we are. So we think that some Black folks are different than other Black folks, and therefore it is difficult for us to come together to fight for the same cause, not realizing that the only cause you should be fighting for is Blackness. The world does not care how much money you make. The world does not care where you live. The world does not care what you drive. The world sees one thing, and that is that you are Black. And your Blackness right now is being treated unjustly simply because you are Black. So I don't know what it's going to take for you to realize you are Black first. And everything that we need to be doing right now is focusing on that. I'm not focused on trying to get Trump to change his mind about the big, beautiful bill. I'm focused on how we can come together as Black folks and fight for what we need to do. And the way we can do that is to live outside of this system. Because if the Supreme Court is now in cahoots with the presidential campaign, presidential administration to deny your humanity, what else you gonna do? And so this case, Lo says, this case, Marbury versus Madison, concerns the topic of judicial review. Okay, but who gets to review it? The Supreme Court is going to review it. And look at the decisions the Supreme Court has made in favor of this administration just recently. And so for us to continue to think, oh, no. If I just trust the system, if I just do what they say do, if I just follow the rules were not ever designed to apply to you. The rules have always been in place to exclude you, to put you in a situation where you are not the beneficiary beneficiary. That's what the rules have done to us historically. So what is it that's going to take for us to realize, particularly as Black folks, but not just as Black folks, as immigrants, as poor people, what is it going to give for us what is it going to take for us to see we have got to fight in a different way? Because even when you say I've got my own system, if it's designed by the system that made you, if it's designed by the system that owns you, what good is your system? And I don't know what that's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take for you to see that your Blackness needs to be your main concern. Oh, yes, I do. Divestment from religion, especially the religion of Christianity, because we want to go around talking about how we Christian first. Actually, you're not. You're Black first. Won't nobody know you Christian unless you tell them. And even then, even if you tell people, sometimes I can't tell by your behavior, because you say you are, because look at the world of evangelicals right now. And they say they Christians, and look how they act. Look how they act. So I think that for Black people, we almost are ashamed. We almost feel like it's something wrong with saying, I want to lead with my Blackness. What's wrong with saying that? What's wrong with saying, I want to make sure that as a collective, I want to make sure as a nation, I want to make sure as a community that we are treated fairly, that we are treated humanely. That is my goal, to work for Blackness. What's wrong with saying that? I don't understand why we have so much well, now, because I want to love everybody. What's stopping you from loving everybody just because you center Blackness? How does that stop you from loving other people? How does it keep you from being who you believe God has called you to be just because you say, I'm going to lead with my Black? How does Blackness then get to be weaponized in that way, so you have to take it off the table in order to be the human that you want to be? How come your humanity cannot include your Blackness being centered? Why can't it do that? And why do we allow people to tell us that we can't be Black first? Why? Especially when you were talking a few minutes ago, Tony, the white world ain't got no problem. They white. By any means necessary, they have no problem with it. Now, I'm not saying we want to be like the white people. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is having pride in who you are and wanting to make sure that you are treated justly and you are not allowing the injustices because we're being treated inhumanely because we are Black, but then we're not going to fight for the Blackness. How much sense does that make? And why are we scared? Not just why are we scared, but who we scared of? I'm thinking about Real Housewives of Atlanta when Cherie asked him, said, who gonna check me, boo? I ain't well, what are we afraid of? What are we ashamed of? And here's Lo responding. Lo says, because most Black folks insult their mother, talking about Africa, for the sake of going along to get along. Most Black folks insult their mother, talking about Africa, for the sake of going along to get along. Yeah, going along because we think we're gonna get something. We trying to get something. But when we talk about Africa in particular, Africa has everything. The world continues to rape Africa to this day because Africa has everything. And so if you align yourself with Africa, you don't need nothing from anybody. All you have to do is live into the boldness and the confidence of who you are, particularly as Black. Oh, it makes me tired trying to figure out why we just can't do that. Why is it so hard? And the only reason it's so hard is because of capitalism. I think religion, capitalism, like all of these systems that we have been programmed and conditioned and are now complicit in, it is difficult to uproot that. It is. I know, because I'm doing it every day. But it's possible. And that's what Anthony Hamilton tells us. We can conquer the world. Do you believe that? I believe that. Do you believe that too?
Oh, yeah. Because you see,
do you believe that, Ms. Gardner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it play out. I see it play out in the movie, and so when I hear that the world is anti-Black, the way it goes in my mind is that this country is anti-Black, because you can go to places that are Black run, Black controlled, Black dominated, and no white person is running.
But they're still operating in a system that's anti-Black. It's still the system. It doesn't matter who you put in front of it.
It's not.
That's just like the MLK Commission right now. If we go to the MLK Commission right now, we talk about the fact that it's for Martin Luther King, it's run by a Black person, and it's for Black people. It's still run in the design of the system. So it's still anti-Black.
So that's what I said. Here,
No, it across the world. The world is anti-Black. I don't care who you put in charge. It's like you're saying if it's a Black person in charge, it's going to change the way the system works. Just because a Black person in charge does not change the way the system works. You got workers right now. You work with them all the time. They supervisors and they act the same way as the white people. Why? Because they are upholding the system. So it doesn't matter whose face is on it if they are still following the same system. And the world is anti-Black. The world is operating in an anti-Black system. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like you're saying, no, how can that be if the person that's in charge is Black? How can a Black person be anti-Black? Is that what you're asking?
No, what I'm saying is that there are places where the system you're talking about is the system of capitalism. That's all it is. It's the system of capitalism. And if you go to some countries that are Black run, they're operating in capitalism, but they're not operating in a system so, well, because you are Black, I'm going to dominate you. Yeah,
because the Black people are always at the bottom in every system. In every country, across the world, the more melanin that you have, and it doesn't mean that you are Black. Like you want to use the word Black. When I went to Rome, I don't think I'll ever forget this conversation. It was the day that I did the food tour, and the young man we were doing the truffles. We were eating the white truffle and the Black truffle and the truffle oil, and we were doing all of this. And he kept talking about how his Blackness made him his Blackness made him the brunt of injustice in Rome. And I was looking at him, and I finally said to him, I find this conversation to be fascinating, because if I were to take you back to America with me, they would consider you brown. They would consider me Black, but they would consider you brown. But in the area in which he lived, he had more melanin, and so therefore he was treated like the Black person. So just because he didn't look like me in terms of look at my skin tone and say my skin tone is the same as your skin tone, it was about the melanin. And across the world, the more melanin, the more injustice. It does not matter if the person in charge is Black. It does not matter if the person in charge is white. What matters is that this world is anti-Black in terms of anti-melanin. So the more you got, the worse you are treated. And he said, well, I'm the Black person here. And I said, well, you were before I showed up. And we made a joke out of it, but we also took the time because the people beside me were white, and they were like, wait a minute, what are y'all talking about? So we had a moment to talk about the system of injustice and how it relates to melanin. And so that is the point that I think that we miss all the time, because we want to act like if we put a different person in charge, that changes things. And I'm telling you, if you go to Trinity Broadcast Network, whether you're looking at TD Jakes or Kenneth Copeland, it's the same system. It does not matter whether the fact that TD Jakes is Black. It does not matter that Kenneth Copeland is white. It's the same system that both of them are upholding, because the system is what dominates. And the system has declared that to be melanated is to be dehumanized. That's what we're going to do. The more melanin you have, the more we're going to dehumanize you. Here's Malik. Malik says, this has been the case for years since enslavement. They beat some of us down so much. Some of us have tried to get away from being our natural natured selves with a mindset of wanting to assimilate to a culture that's not ours. And no matter how much one tries to assimilate in it, you'll never be accepted, only used to further the white agenda. I need to read this last part again. We are forgetting about ourselves. We've tried to get away from being our natural selves with a mindset of wanting to assimilate into a culture that's not ours. And no matter how much one tries to assimilate in it, you'll never be accepted, only used to further the white agenda. Now, I believe it. I believe that in my core. And so what would it take for us to say we don't have to operate in this system? We can create our own. And it's not like we got to come up with our own. It's not like we got to reinvent the wheels. Our ancestors, the people in the EJI tidbit, they said, listen, we're not riding these buses. We're going to carpool. We're going to have our own system of transportation. That's what we're going to do. It's called Sankofa. Let's look back to what we can see that has been done historically. Let's look back and let's find what worked for them and let's modify it so that it works for today. We're not going to use it like we use the Bible. People take the Bible from when they say 2,000 years ago, and then you want to plop it on us now and then say we're supposed to do exactly what they did. That's ridiculousness. You can't do that. We need to take what is good, take what worked, and then adjust it so that it fits the time in which we live, and then we can live into a new future using different tools, because what the system is offering us now is not meant for us. Lowe says, you are not catching hell in America because you are Baptist or Methodist or Muslim, but because of your melanated skin. You are not catching hell in America because you are Baptist or Methodist or Muslim, but because of your melanated skin. That's what Lowe said. And I agree with that too. I agree with all these comments that are rooted in us understanding that the systems that are in place, the systems that we are complicit in, they are designed on the backs of our melanated skin, regardless of who is in charge. And if you want to say that I'm leading, if you want to say, oh, no, I'm going to now work for the community, then you can only work. I only want you to work in my community if you come in with a different design. Let me say it like that. I'm not going to tell you not to work in the communities, because I don't want anybody to hear me say that community work is not good. I'm not saying that at all. If you're trying to do something for the community, I am not suggesting that you are bad or evil or wrong. I'm just suggesting that you would be way more effective if you did not follow the same design that's continuing to oppress you, even one that has money, even one that lives in a nice neighborhood, even one that drives a nice car. You still Black in America, so you are still in the same boat with the rest of us. So we need a different design. Are you willing to take a look at what you're doing for the community and ask yourself, what design am I following? What system am I using? What system do I as the Black person put in place? Do I need to take another look at this? Because chances are the answer would be yes to that. Lowe also says, just like the sellout director who is ignoring the needs of Hanger Hill. You know Hanger Hill, Tommy? Just like the sellout director who is it? You know who he's talking about?
I'm trying to figure out what ward Hanger Hill is in. Is it Ward 1?
I don't know what ward it's in, but it reminds me of the work that we.
Ward 1.
Though that means we need to get Black man politician on the line and see what they doing about it. But also thinking about Parkview Towers, because I told you all that I was going to work for Ms. Garner because of what has happened. I mentioned this to you all a couple of weeks ago. And what I need are some stories from some members in the community that have had issues with Parkview Towers. That's going to help my case that I'm building right now. That's going to help my case. Oh, he said that Mike Orndorff is putting up a shabby development in that area. Michael Orndorff is putting up a shabby development in the area of Hanger Hill. I got to take a look at this. I got to figure out what you're talking about, because you know Mike Orndorff live behind me. We live right across the street from each other across the alley. So we need to figure this out. But yes, those of you who have some community stories about injustice at Parkview Towers, that will help me out a lot, because the stories that I'm receiving and collecting now are coming from the people who live there, and I do not want to put their residency in danger. So I do not want to use them. I need to use people who do not have their shelter on the line by telling these stories. I need y'all to help me. You can hit me up at 228-236-7440 for those stories. You have been listening. It is already time for us to go, because I see your girl Lola. She is at the door ready for 2 hours of jazz. Do not touch the dial, because you want to hear everything that she has to say. She's going to get started with the ladies, because it's Jazzy Tuesday. Do not leave. We have been so glad, so grateful to have this conversation with you right here at Community Voices on 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. We're going to get started with Denise Williams singing Free. And that's what we got to do, y'all. We got to figure out how we going to get free.